What is going on, everybody? Welcome to NFL Turf Talk. Eagles, a win is a win, Scotty. The Birds take down the Lions 38-35 in Detroit. We'll be breaking down that game as well as the rest of the Sunday slate in week one around the NFL, while also giving you guys our top 5 storylines / takeaways from week one yesterday. That and much, much more when we are back in 30 seconds.
One-on-one.
Clement flares out to the right. Caught over the middle and into.
He's at the 45. Are you kidding? Oh! He's gonna go!
Oh! Brady gets hit. The ball is out. And Philadelphia has
it. What is up, everybody? As I said earlier, this is NFL Turf Talk, streaming to you guys live on DSM Media's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter channels. If you guys are new to the channel, head on over to @DSM_media. Hit that follow button on Twitter, and while you're on the page, check out the link tree in our bio to take you to every social media platform we are available on. And if you guys would like to be interactive on today's show, head on over to the YouTube channel specifically. That's where we can pull your thoughts, comments, questions, concerns up on the screen, and you guys can interact with Scotty and myself. I'm one half of your host here, Dylan Davis. You can find me on Twitter @DylanJD98. Check out my co-host to my right, Scotty, on Twitter as well @ScottyDrowned. Man, week one, it felt good to be back, did it not? It just felt right to just sit there and really do nothing for about 12 hours, Scotty. We did a lot, but we did nothing at the same time. Yesterday was a great time, and the Eagles come away with a win. So today's technically a victory Monday for us Eagles fans.
First one of the season, early victory Monday.
Get them out of the way early, right?
We got one of these early last year, so I'm not jumping the wagon too quickly here, but nonetheless feels good. I know everybody, there was a lot of little frantic kind of.
There's a lot of negativity going on, man, on social media, throughout the fan base.
Our buddy Phil, Overreaction Monday. There was a lot of that, throughout the evening last night and then into Monday morning. And quite honestly, I don't really understand it. I get it, to an extent you can talk about it, but complaining about it is where I'm it's Lions put up 35 points. It's week one, guys. Like these guys are figuring it out. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was just thrown out there and he's making plays already. Like we got to take everything with a grain of salt.
So there's cause for concern, right? And I just did the Faithful Fanatic show with Ginn, and we talked about the game and we broke it down. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't want the conversation. I didn't want to sound negative, but talking about the defense specifically, and Jonathan Gannon, it felt very negative. The energy was very low, and like I said, it's a victory Monday. So I'm going to try to bring the conversation back positive because I'm not one of the Eagles fans today that is down after a win. It's like now it has to be pretty, right? It's hard to win, and I'll say this, guys, it could be a lot worse. The Eagles could have gave up 35 to the Lions while losing because there were 6 games yesterday in which, and Abe, what's going on, brother? In which playoff teams from last year lost to non-playoff teams from last year. You know that one of that 1-5 record is your Philadelphia Eagles. So it could be worse. You could be the 49ers who made it to the NFC Championship last year, had a change of guard at the QB position, and lose to Justin Fields and the piss poor Chicago Bears. You could be the Indianapolis Colts. Now they're not one of the losses, and they didn't make the playoffs last year, so they're not one of these teams. But they lost to, or they tied, the Houston Texans. You be the Cincinnati Bengals who lost in ridiculous fashion to the Pittsburgh Steelers. There was a lot of games and a lot of teams that had a sour day yesterday. The Eagles weren't one of them.
Yeah.
So let's try to bring the positivity out today, man. Where do you want to start? You want to start on the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side? Because if we want to be positive, we should probably start on the offensive side of things.
Yeah, let's start with offense, man. Let's start from the top. I guess we got to talk about Jalen Hurts first, or do you want to talk about Miles? I want to talk about Miles Sanders as well because I know we kind of counted him out to an extent. But he looked really fresh yesterday. Now, obviously, only 13 carries. It isn't always going to be working out like that where he gets over 90 rushing yards on 13 carries. But as far as the recipe, and maybe we can just generalize this into the entire running game, 17 carries for Hurts, 13 for Miles. It is very similar
Right,
to
not scripted carries. They weren't, some were designed,
Right,
but many
right.
were off script, have to avoid pressure, etc. So
Which, while we're on the rushing aspect of the offense, Jalen Hurts. I mean, I know we get caught up sometimes as a fan base wanting him to stay in the pocket, throw the football down the field.
Well,
And, I caught myself during the game as well at some points. But man, this guy can use his legs with the best of them. I mean, I know we talk about it as almost like a detractor to an extent sometimes. And I just wanted to throw it out. He's such a smart runner
well,
at times. When he chooses to run, it feels like.
yeah. No, and I love this point by Abe. Like if the Jordan Davis snap counts continue, if the sticks defense if that stuff continues 3, 4, 5 weeks from now, we can have another conversation. But we do have to hold. I definitely have to hold Gannon accountable for yesterday later on the show. But maybe this will make you feel even better about your point on Jalen Hurts' legs yesterday.
Yeah.
You know how I feel about that. I need to see progression as a passer, as a quarterback first. The legs are a secondary weapon. I felt yesterday that it was okay. Like his legs kept them alive early on. His legs weathered the storm.
Yeah.
Detroit brought the house, man. They brought the house all game, but they really brought the house the first 2 possessions of that game. The Eagles offensive line made many, many mistakes yesterday, and his legs were the one thing that was able to kind of slow down that pass rush, and he was able to keep drives alive, move the chains. So I was all on board with what he was able to do with that rushing TD and those rushing yards yesterday. Like I said, they weren't designed runs. These weren't RPOs where he kept keeping the ball and taking off. It's not that. It's he dropped back. Here comes 2 dudes in my face. His legs are able to pick up a 3rd and 15 on the first or second drive. So it should make you feel better that Dylan Davis is saying he's okay with Jalen Hurts' legs yesterday.
Yeah, the lanes were open, man. That's as simple as that. I know exactly what you mean. It was the right spots to run the football.
Right. Essentially, it wasn't drop back, one read, dip.
Yeah.
It was drop back. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Dip. And it was able to keep him alive.
And that's the other side of it. That's the other side of it, is being very decisive with those decisions. But just seeing the way the offense runs in the red zone, right? And obviously we had 3 rushing touchdowns.
They were great in the red zone yesterday.
They were great. And I think that just continues. I think that is what the Birds can be really good at. And you talk about Josh Allen all the time. And by all means, Jalen Hurts isn't Josh Allen. He's not Josh Allen arm-wise. He's not Josh Allen physical standpoint.
Right.
But when you get in the 20-yard line, he's Josh Allen when he can take the ball in the goddamn end zone. And that's one of the bigger parts of the offense in the red zone, which is why I think we might have to get used to these hefty rushing touchdown games where Gainwell gets a touchdown, Boston Scott gets a touchdown, and Hurts maybe gets 2 touchdowns rushing. And maybe none of the receivers get touchdowns. Hopefully those guys are cool with that, because I could see a lot of games going that way, because it's simply played, when you have an offensive line this good, you get down in the 5-yard line. It's simply smarter to run.
When you get on the goal line, you you go to your strength, you pound the rock behind that offensive line. That's what they were able to do. And I know we were talking about it mid-game yesterday. And of course, we would love to see the passing totals go up, but he was 18 of 32. The completion percentage wasn't anything to write home about, but he did throw for 240 plus. Listen, man, he made a couple of throws, and obviously specifically that deep ball down the right sideline to AJ Brown was as good of a throw as any quarterback could make. I mean, obviously AJ had the step on the defender, but that corner was still on his hip, on his back shoulder, and Hurts threw a dart over his shoulder, dropped it into the breadbasket in stride, didn't have to slow down for it. That was one of the best throws I've seen him make. He had a couple in rhythm, in stride, kind of slant, short to intermediate kind of throws to AJ Brown specifically, because obviously he was the storyline, and I'll get to him in a minute. But Jalen Hurts was good yesterday. Now listen, if he threw for 3 touchdowns and he took care of the ball, he didn't turn the ball over. He made a couple throws that I didn't see him make last year. That's progression. And listen, normally we want him to spread the ball around, get other guys involved, and yes, week to week that needs to happen. But I kind of like that he fed the hot hand yesterday. AJ Brown was a mismatch all day long. I'm not mad that he gave him the ball 10 times. No, nobody should. I get it. Devontae Smith didn't have a catch. Quez Watkins, I don't even know if he made the trip to Detroit. Dallas Goedert, only 3 catches. But A.J. Brown was a mismatch nightmare for Detroit yesterday, and Jalen Hurts found a way to exploit it. So he was very good. To bring it back to a couple of other things you said, they were great in the red zone. What do I mean by that? 7 points. What was a problem last year for this offense? Too many empty trips inside the red zone, whether they come away with 3 after having first and goal at the 4, whether he takes a sack and they're out of field goal range, whether they only come away with 3, whatever the case may be. They were very good in the red zone, and they were also very efficient on third downs. 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 15. Picked up a lot of big third downs. Now, so were the Lions. That's a problem defensively, but the offense was very efficient on third down. So all of that's a positive. And Miles Sanders, that was your first talking point. You know what he did, Scotty, yesterday that I'm not used to seeing? I'm used to seeing a lot of dancing by Miles Sanders, a lot of a hole to his right, and he doesn't see it or doesn't go to it. A lot of running out of bounds. Specifically that play at the end of the game when they were trying to ice out Detroit. He got caught behind the line of scrimmage, and you and I were like, dude, like he's stuffed. He's getting stuffed there, getting the ball back. He almost created that hole himself.
Yeah.
Miles Sanders was electric yesterday.
He was. Every time he touched the ball. Every time he touched the ball, borderline first down. I mean, I honestly like the way they're using him. I like that usage of Miles Sanders. Yeah. Like I know
he's not a 20 carry
he's not per game guy. He's not. Every time we've tried that, anything over 15 carries, every time we've tried that, something with his hamstring or something gets he's beat up in some form. So I like Miles Sanders in this role because even if he does go down for a game or two, now you're not missing a guy that has had the ball in his hands 20 plus times a game. It's just a guy that, you know what I mean? That's easier to fill in than a 20 plus guy. But I loved your point about AJ Brown and the 10 targets.
Yeah, let's get to him, man.
It was actually more than 10 targets.
Well, 10 catches, but more targets. Yeah.
And just feeding the hot hand. I loved how you use that term because that's what we've wanted for the last however many years. Like, as Eagles fans, it is amazing that we could.
He's the best wide receiver since T.O. He's as advertised, dude.
To complain about Devontae Smith not having like targets, looks, even Quez Watkins, that's not an issue. We're making
not yesterday.
Nothing. No. If Devontae Smith goes to next week and has 0 catches, then maybe we could talk about an issue of spreading the ball around. You ride the hot hand. You bring in AJ Brown, just like you just said, for that reason to feed him like workhorse. You saw the numbers today matched up against Megatron for their first 44 games. Get the guy the ball. If he's in the game, you get him the ball, and that's what you bring in a top 10 wide receiver for, man.
Well, let's talk about the difference. This training camp all summer long, we kind of discussed, will he try to force feed AJ Brown? Right. There's a difference yesterday between force feeding and feeding him.
Exactly.
Because in a game where Devontae Smith and Quez Watkins don't have a catch, and AJ Brown has 15 targets for 8 or 9 catches for 62 yards, and the Eagles lose, that's force feeding. Right. You're locked in on him. It's not working, but you're still going to him.
Right.
Yesterday is exploiting a mismatch, feeding the hot hand. 10 catches, 155 yards, multiple big first downs, multiple explosive plays. There's a difference between force feeding and feeding a hot hand, and that's what he was able to do yesterday. So no one should be complaining about that. Like, and no offense, like, what do you want? What do you want? AJ Brown to have 10 catches, Devontae Smith to have 7, Dallas Goedert to have 6. There's not going to be a game where that happens.
Like, we're not the Kansas City Chiefs air raid offense where everybody's going to get 100 yards each receive. Like, this isn't Madden, right? There's going to be some off weeks for each one of these guys, and that's just
he only threw the ball 32 times.
If they're blitzing as much as we just talked about, you said it yourself. The Lions sent the house yesterday at the Eagles and at Jalen Hurts. If they're blitzing like that, guess what? Jalen Hurts is going to have to make quick decisions and go to one read. And if they're guarding AJ Brown one-on-one, I'm throwing it every time. I don't care who's guarding him. I'm throwing it to AJ Brown every damn time because he's a monster. He's a monster. And I know Phil talked about it on the morning show this morning, and you may have Smitty gonna get it. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And I'll let you get to that after this. I heard Phil talking about, this is what we wanted Alshon Jeffrey to be. Now, I think this is TO level. I think this
Oh, it's TOS.
is that type
By far.
of monster. Like,
Well-
I'm not underselling AJ Brown today. And I may be overselling. I don't care.
No.
I saw the comparisons to Megatron, the numbers, the first 44 games, whatever. I take that with a grain of salt. That's a selective amount of numbers, but they're still monster numbers.
Yeah.
The guy performs when he's on the field, and he has to be the best wide receiver that we've had since T.O. Maybe he's not T.O. That's a little much. That's a Hall of Famer right there.
Right.
But A.J. Brown is the best thing we've had since Terrell Owens.
For sure.
And I can say that easily, man.
For sure, Scotty. He, like I said, that's one of my everything we've talked about are my 3 positive takeaways from the offense. It's Jalen Hurts was good.
Yeah.
Made some throws I didn't see before. His legs were fine. Miles Sanders was explosive, and AJ Brown is as advertised. There's nothing else you really need to discuss about it. And here's the thing: we can read all the numbers. This guy, Scotty, it's basically what he did yesterday. Even though he didn't get in the end zone, he can take over a game.
Took over the game, yeah.
And I know he's a large human being. We knew that. He's so large and physical, but so athletic and quick. He said yesterday that he was disappointed in himself for not getting in the end zone because every time he gets the ball, he tries to score. You can see that every time he gets the ball. Dude, he carried a Lion defender from about the 8 to the
He started
1.
walking with him.
Yeah. Like, and this is just the beginning. This is just the tip of the iceberg, I think, with this kid, man. And like, listen, they're boys, right? They're best friends.
Yeah.
It showed yesterday.
Yeah.
It showed. And now you kind of, again, one game, I'm not trying to get over the top against the Lions, but you get a little sample of why and understand why AJ Brown wanted to come play with his best friend.
Yeah.
Working out all offseason together. Because what do we talk about? Like, okay, you and I aren't sold on Jalen Hurts' arm, but do you really think AJ Brown is going to maybe even take a discount? He got paid, he got the extension, but he probably could have got more money somewhere else, or maybe staying in Tennessee. We don't know. You think he's going to come here if he doesn't think he can get the ball or have success with his best friend?
Exactly.
And it showed on a high level yesterday. So
very high level. Yes.
Jalen Hurts, good. Miles Sanders, really good. AJ Brown, fantastic. Okay. One negative.
Okay, go ahead. My bad. That's what
the offensive line was brutal.
Yeah.
The offensive line was really bad. However, if there was a negative from yesterday that I had a 0% concern about, it is the offensive line will be fine tomorrow. Like that shit's getting fixed tomorrow. There's too many veterans, too much talent, too many Pro Bowlers with Jeff Stoutland and this coaching staff to not be like, yo, like, and listen, if there's one thing we can criticize Jalen Hurts for yesterday to help this offensive line out, because normally it's vice versa. How can they help him?
Yeah.
You could make the argument, like me and you are watching the game together. I know defenses disguise, they might show blitz and then they drop off. After about the first 9 straight blitzes, you probably could have started to adjust pre-snap, slider protection somewhere. Hell, Sirianni and Steichen probably should have drawn things up for quicker releases, quicker passes. Yeah. They didn't. So that was the odd part. But I'm not going to kill the kid in week 1 for not being able to totally read what the lines want to do. If they're going to bring 7 guys, they're going to bring 7 guys. There's not too much you can really do about it when you're spreading them out, empty shotgun, right? So that's the one negative. And like I said, Devontae Smith, he's not a negative. It's not a negative. It's just odd that he didn't record a catch. Yeah. Quez Watkins, there's an APB out for Quez Watkins.
Yeah, for real. Yeah,
I knew. Like, here's the thing: Devontae Smith didn't have a catch. I knew Devontae Smith was on the field.
Yeah,
I don't remember seeing Quez Watkins' damn ass on the field.
No, I don't remember.
He was. I know that. I'm just saying he had no effect.
He had no targets. I don't remember seeing him on the field like in you. Yeah. I know he played, but I'm with you. And the thing with Devontae Smith, he did have a catch. It just got called back.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I just don't look at that as a thing. It's just feeding the hot hand, and AJ Brown's on the other side. It's going to be like that sometimes. Sometimes Devontae Smith is going to be beating his guy like that, and he's going to get those targets. So,
can I tell you one more thing I liked offensively?
Yeah.
They put AJ Brown in the slot often.
Yeah.
And at least yesterday, since it worked, who knows? Maybe another time it doesn't work. He needs to be on the outside more, and we're criticizing it a week from now. I don't know, but it worked yesterday, and it was cool to see, to have the flexibility with these wide receivers where they can kind of go wherever, and they're talented and smart enough to play every position. That's something to keep an eye on, man, because we thought, okay, wide receiver 1, typically him and Smith are going to be on the outside. Quez and Pascal are going to run in the middle and use all that. No, it didn't work that way.
Yeah. It's interesting. And one thing I would say about the offensive line as well, it's not every game where the teams are going to bring the house like that. Very well against Minnesota, they have a very good defensive line. I know we're not going to touch on that too much, but that's just for an example, a team that does not have to bring the house to get pressure on the quarterback. So things will start to look different week to week. I was actually surprised the Lions went with that type of game plan because I thought that kind of allowed Hurts to do whatever he wanted out there. Once you break that pressure, that initial pressure, he's got lanes down the field to run or throw the ball. So I think teams will approach Hurts differently, and that's where we'll ultimately look for the improvements. But a win is a win nonetheless with this offense, and I'm taking
a win is a win, and they dropped 38, bro.
They dropped 38 points.
Jalen Hurts led offense dropped 38 in week 1. There shouldn't be complaints about that. There can be little constructive criticisms around the offense, but there is nothing to dislike from that showing yesterday. All right, what's he need to have a higher completion percentage? Yeah, going forward against a better team, there were a couple drops. He threw a bad ball or two to Kenny Gainwell. I get it. He was fine, and the offense put up 38 points. Well, the offense put up 31.
31, yeah.
The defense. So let's transition over to the defensive side of the ball, right?
Let's talk about it.
Let me get the positives out of the way because I'm going to have more negatives for this side. Some of the new faces made their presence felt. Obviously, James Bradbury had a pick 6 yesterday. Yeah. He was good. Kaiser White was all over the field and had a hand in on that deflection for that pick 6. CJ Gardner-Johnson, I felt like I saw his name called, heard his name called multiple times, and not for negative reasons. Yeah. This kid, he had a couple pass breakups, a couple deflections, a big hit to knock the ball loose on a 3rd down. Like, he was all over the field, and like you said, he was thrown into the fire like a week and a half ago. Yeah, so he's learning and at that new position we talked about. So I thought the new names really showed up and had made an impact. Slay was Slay. He was fine for the most part. So that's that. But let me pose this question to you first before I really rip Jonathan Gannon because he was ugly yesterday. Yeah. So we're watching the game, and the energy was high, right? Not only because it's back in the first quarter, but the energy was high all first half and early 3rd quarter, right? Yeah. Then the Eagles go up 31-14. And I feel everyone kind of, we sat back, reclined. There's side conversations going on in the room while the game, like, it's not as intense. Yeah. It almost felt like the defense took on that energy. They matched that energy. Yeah. When they started the 4th quarter. Because, dude, Jared Goff had like 40 passing yards into the middle of the 3rd quarter. Obviously, we know they couldn't stop a nosebleed on the ground. DeAndre Swift ran all over him. That's a problem, and we'll talk about that. But the defense, for the most part, was fine. They got up 17, and it's like Gannon resorted back to the sticks defense. Everything was so soft that 3rd and longs became so manageable for Jared Goff. I hated it. I truly hated it. And you got scared. Man, it got 38-35, and you're like, if they get the ball back, they're going to score a touchdown. That's how the momentum shifted. So did it feel that way to you, though? Because in the middle of the game, I thought the defense was very good. Like, I thought they made plays. They obviously had a pick 6, and all of a sudden they got that big lead, and it was like, let's go home, and the job wasn't done yet.
Yeah, it was just it turned into a game of like not trying to make that big mistake, and
they were too comfortable. I thought
that's when you see them second guessing or not playing up far enough. I think it's a Gannon thing. I think he needs to rearrange his thought process there, because when you get a big lead, it's time to let the dogs go. It's not time to bring them back and put them back on the leash. It's time to let the dogs go after the quarterback. They had 1 sack yesterday. That's an issue.
None.
It's shown on ESPN as Cox and Graham split a sack.
They counted it.
So I don't know if that's the official on ESPN, but okay. I know we went back and forth yesterday. 1 sack, 0 sack. I don't care.
Right.
I want more than that.
Because it got disrupted by Goff, botching the snap. So I thought they didn't count it. But either way.
Does that count? You know what I mean? Like, that wasn't a real pressure in reality if he's botching a snap and it's taking up more time. I want to see more pressure. Ultimately, you're going to have to bring these guys up to play these receivers to get more pressure. And I completely disagree with like the game plan or the mindset or the scheme, whatever that is, to back guys off when you're up and just give yards. I don't care about the Lions. You're talking about a big play. This isn't a Justin Jefferson out there. This isn't somebody that Tyreek Hill that's going to take the top off your defense. I don't like that playing scared. Play with the talent that you have. That's why we brought these talented individuals.
I'll use the word conservative.
Conservative.
Because
that's
you know what? The
it.
first half, like I said, when the defense was playing well, obviously the first drive, the Lions marched down the field, scored 7. But after that, the defense was playing well for the next 2 quarters or so. And they were bringing some pressure. I remember the one time he brought about 7 or 8, and we were like, oh, shit. Like, who is this?
Yeah.
But then that's my point about getting comfortable. They got up 17 and late in the game, and he resorted back to that keep everything in front of you kind of defense that you saw last year. Here's the problem, man. It doesn't work if the bend but don't break doesn't work when you break at the end of every possession. It's not like they scored one time on the bend but don't break conservative defense. They marched their asses up and down the field every possession to make it a 3-point game with like 6 minutes left. That was a problem. And here comes another problem. Jordan Davis played 22 effing snaps yesterday. Now, let me say this.
0 cents.
Let me say this to you. Even though he needs to play more than that regardless of who's ahead of him, I know he's not a 3-down guy. We knew that when we drafted him. We know they have a lot of talent on the defensive line, and it's going to be a rotation. I get that. You could make the argument if Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave, they're the veterans. They're the name guy. They're the marquee guys, right? He's not getting in ahead of them, even though maybe he should.
Right.
Marlon Tuipulotu played more than Jordan effing Davis did yesterday. Are you joking? This is where that's where the frustration is coming from, Scotty. And then here, listen, numbers can be skewed. Numbers can lie at times. Numbers can be misleading. The numbers don't lie in this case. When Jordan Davis was on the field yesterday, the Detroit Lions averaged 2.9 yards per rush. When he was off the field, they averaged 10 yards per carry.
Gaping holes.
That number is not skewed. That's not telling a misleading story. That's telling you the God's honest truth. What's working, what's not. And Nick Sirianni, it's not his fault. It's Gannon's fault. He's not, using the personnel. He's not playing Jordan Davis. But he came out today in his press conference and basically tried to say there's no correlation from what they watched between those numbers and Jordan Davis's snap count. Don't lie to me, man. Don't play the fan base like they're stupid, because this fan base isn't stupid. We know what we saw. And here's the thing. If that keeps up, you can try to get away with it against Detroit. On Monday night, if Gannon plays Jordan Davis under 30% of the snaps again, and then against Washington plays them 30% of the snaps again. Yep. Now Jonathan Gannon's going to need to be sat down, because that can never ever happen again.
Yeah, and I know we're looking at this game. We're calling it a win for a win. Week 1, we take it, right? We take it and we keep moving. We want improvements next week. We understand that, but Gannon needs to open his eyes up really quick, because we're going into.
Now, let me ask you how much of a concern that is for you, because we have no background. We have no proof in front of us that Gannon is going to do something different or learn. Actually, I get it. Like, again, last year, we're trying to claim it's an outlier because he didn't have the personnel. He didn't have the talent. And this is only 1 week. But so far, we have 18, 19 games that tell you what Jonathan Gannon does. And I'm sitting here saying there's no way he only plays Jordan Davis 30% of the snaps again. Why? Why is there no way? Because he's only done what he's done in the past.
Right.
So he needs to figure it out quick, man. If there was one concern yesterday, it's that. I'm totally on board with you. A win is a win. They won the game. That is the ultimate goal. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be pretty. The offense was really good. The defense wasn't. But you're right. They will not win next week if the defense looks like it did in the fourth quarter against the Vikings. Because Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, they're going to have a field day against that scheme.
They'll get
that's what he
blown out
does.
if that defense comes out like that. If you're not getting pressure on Kirk Cousins, if you're not pressing up on Justin Jefferson at the line, you don't think Justin Jefferson will take everything right in front of him? Like, if there is any receiver, any offense you don't do this shit against, it is the Minnesota Vikings. We'll get into that later on this week, nonetheless. But I'm with you, Gannon. Open your eyes. That's all I'm going to say for now. I'm not going to, go and talk about the what ifs if this goes the wrong way. Open your eyes. Sirianni, if you need to talk to Gannon to open his eyes, that's your guy. Open his eyes. We need to do some different things here. This is not the same roster from last season, but we're doing the same things with this roster. And that does not work with me. We have a significant level of a jump in talent on this defense. It needs to be utilized correctly. And I do believe, I know no what ifs. If Gannon, if this defense is the reason this team isn't winning the NFC East by a margin now that Dak Prescott's gone, isn't in the playoffs and have a top 10 defense, Gannon does have to go. This is a top 10 talented level of a defense. Things need to be fixed. It's week 1. Maybe the Lions are better than what we thought. Maybe the Hard Knocks, maybe that gave them life in week 1. Maybe the Eagles.
Maybe they were gassed. They didn't do anything all summer. We downplayed it. They didn't tackle to the ground. They only played 2 possessions of a preseason game. Look, it showed on the defensive side of things. But my question would be, why didn't it show on the offensive side? The offense scored 31 points. Why did it only show on one side of the ball? Neither side got a lot of work in this summer.
Yeah.
We'll see. You're right. But let's move on, man, to the second half of the show. And we're kind of just going to break down the overall slate yesterday, go over some surprises and our top 5 storylines / takeaways from week 1 across the National Football League. Obviously, it's not wrapped up yet. You got Russ's return to Seattle in just over an hour. So that'll be I don't want to say exciting because I think Seattle might be the worst team in the league, but I'm
only excited.
It's football.
I have shares of Javonte Williams in multiple leagues, so I just want to.
I have shares of a Javonte Williams anytime touchdown score tonight. So
yeah, hey, I got a parlay as well, my friend.
All right, so let's look at the 1 o'clock slate as a whole right here, right? I'm just going to go down the games and we can break them down. So you have the Saints coming away with a scary win in Atlanta versus the Falcons, where they were down 3 possessions in the fourth quarter. They win 27-26 on a Will Lutz field goal. The Niners lose at Soldier Field 19-10. If this noise comes up again, what the hell? The ads keep playing on ESPN out of nowhere, and it just scared the shit out of me because I wasn't looking at the screen. But Bears beat the Niners 19-10. The craziest game of the week was this one. The Steelers-Bengals 23-20. Steelers come away with an upset win in overtime. My God, that game is going to be fun to talk about because the back and forth, blocked field goal, missed field goal, hit the upright, turnover, crazy back and forth game. But ultimately, the Steelers get a week 1 win. The Dolphins take care of business in Miami, or the Patriots are. Hey, Scotty, offensively, they're as brutal as we thought. The Dolphins win 20-7. Yeah. The Ravens beat up on the Jets 24-9. Commander Carson takes down the Jaguars late 28-22. Baker does not get the revenge game. The Browns beat the Panthers 26-24. And to wrap up the 1 o'clock slate with, in what other fashion would you wrap up this slate than a tie in the NFC South? The Indianapolis Colts tie the Houston Texans 20-20. What game do you really want to hone in here that either caught your eye, a storyline really unfolded? What are you looking at here in the 1 o'clock slate?
Yeah, so I mean, the 1 o'clock slate, what catches my eye, honestly, that Steelers Bengals game. I mean, Joe Burrow, that's my guy.
Yeah.
My guy on so many levels, and not his day yesterday, to say the
No.
least. 5 turnovers, man. But an even bigger note, just thinking about injuries, and TJ Watt in that game goes down with a torn pec. He's trying to get a second and third opinion. But I guess my question to you regarding this game, obviously it was just crazy how it played out. What type of momentum does that give Pittsburgh going forward? Obviously, Mitchell Trubisky played, I wouldn't call it a great game. It was just a solid, no mistakes, game manager level type of game in my eyes. Are you more worried about the Bengals, or are you more surprised by the Steelers? Or neither? Is it just week 1?
I think this was the definition of a week 1 game. So well, here's the thing. From the Steelers side of things, you won the game. Like, you just beat the Bengals in your division on the road. That's a big time win.
Yeah.
However, it took you to the final seconds of overtime, and Joe Burrow played the worst game of his career, and T. Higgins got concussed in the first quarter or so. So, like, that's not an overall. Again, a win is a win, right? We just said with the Eagles, a win is a win, but it feels different. And then again, if you lose TJ Watt, you could probably just forget about it.
Right. Does it feel like a win if you lose TJ Watt in the process?
Yeah, no, you won the battle to lose the war in that scenario right there. Yeah. And then from the Bengals side of things, Joe Burrow coming off of a long off season where he really didn't play a lot.
Right.
And it showed. I don't expect him to ever be this bad again, to turn the ball over as much as he did in this one. Ever again. So we'll see. So yeah, again,
Chase,
not where
another banger.
Almost had one of the greatest catches I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
if he got that foot down, and then he ended up scoring about 2 seconds later on a shorter route. But yeah, to me, I agree with you. That has to be the game you look at, because it was the most entertaining. It was just very weird. That overtime period, the end of the fourth quarter was highly insane.
Agreed.
Looking around the 1 o'clock slate, man, like to me, my biggest takeaway was so many teams. Like I put it together a parlay of 4 teams in the 1 o'clock slate because I thought they were the locks of all locks. And again, I know the underdogs win all the time, but in no way, shape, or form did I see the New Orleans Saints struggling to the extent they did against Marcus Mariota and the Atlanta Falcons. In no way, shape, or form did I foresee the 49ers only scoring 10 points and losing to the Bears by 2 scores in the opener. It missed me with the weather and the monsoon. Did the Bears put up 19 points? Not that that's a lot, but the Bears scored a little bit. But it's only a Niners problem. I get it. You lost Elijah Mitchell, Trey Lance's first game. The Bears are bad. Like they talk about the term lack of talent. They put nothing around Justin Fields this offseason, and you lost the game, man. Like,
that's the craziest part about that game is, you look at the Bears and you look at the 49ers. Well, you would probably think the Bears are just a worse version, like a very bad version of the 49ers, a stout defense, a defensive-minded head coach. But you have a mobile quarterback, right? A running back that's really good. You got to use the running game. Not a lot of weapons on the outside. 49ers are an elevated version of that. A great defense, a very, top 5 defense. It should be at least. You got Deebo Samuel. You can use him in the running game on the outside. You got Trey Lance, the mobile quarterback. So very similar in my eyes. But Trey Lance, are any question marks there? Is this just the Bears defense? Maybe we were sleeping on the Bears defense and what they can do. Or is this a worrisome Trey Lance performance? Because my thinking here, I don't know exactly who the 49ers play next week. I would have to look at that. Trey Lance looked really bad against the Bears, who we both agreed bottom 5
team. Mm-hmm.
What happens when they play a good team? When the other team can put up more than 20 points? that's when all of these question marks start creeping up. The Jimmy
to
G
answer your question, 100% it's a worry because there is no resume on Trey Lance. There is no proof that he's going to show you otherwise. There's a question mark over his face, just like there's a question mark with Jalen Hurts. But Trey Lance to an even more higher extent because you've seen Jalen Hurts last year. You don't know what Trey Lance is. And like to do that, to put up that performance, miss me with the weather, man.
Yeah.
Like he was bad yesterday against a bad team. And this isn't Joe Burrow. I know what Joe Burrow can be or what Joe Burrow is. He had a bad game. Trey Lance had a bad game. And this is all I know about Trey Lance. He had a bad. So it's not sound the alarms, you know, evacuate the building bed, but it's a bad start to the Niners season and the Trey Lance's career. So we'll see.
Look when he needs to do borderline everything perfect in order to not have those conversations about Jimmy G pop up. It's a bad look to say the least.
So looking at two others before I get to one I want to talk about. Baker and the Panthers lose in bad fashion against the Browns, which, by the way, Panthers should have won. There was an illegal spike for the Browns, and like, what are people going to do? Oh, shut up! It doesn't. No, it's in the rule book. And then I love the ref's explanation we were listening to. Like, no, dude, like he read out basically what Jacoby Brissett did and why it was allowed. And what he read was essentially
what the rule was against.
What the rule is. You cannot snap the ball, fake spike, and then continue to spike the ball next. That is the definition of what you cannot do. If they did that, the refs acknowledge he did that and still don't penalize him for it and allows them to ultimately kick the game-winning field goal. Problem is, the Panthers lost this game long before that. Can you explain to me how Christian McCaffrey had 10 carries yesterday? Well, listen, you're talking to I have him in 2 fantasy leagues, so maybe I'm a little biased. But in what world is that the way to go if you are this Carolina Panthers offense?
Too much focus on giving Baker the keys. I mean, I didn't watch a ton of that game, so I won't jump the gun. But just off the top of my head, I mean, that's what it sounds like. We talked about Baker revenge game. Did they play too much into that storyline?
Yeah. And by the way, let me just say on the opposite side of the ball, well, for the opposite team. Again, I know it's not fantasy football, so it's different, and he didn't score. But people need to start respecting Nick Chubb more, dude. Nick Chubb, 22 carries, $141 yesterday against a pretty good Panthers defense on the road. And people just dismiss him. Like, I get it. He's got Kareem Hunt in the backfield. You don't love him in fantasy football, but people talk about him like he's like a bottom 10 type of not bottom 10, but like
bottom of the top 10.
Right, when he should be like top 3 or 4 talent-wise as a running back.
Pure runner, he's arguably the best running back in the NFL. Like, if you don't include the receiving end, and I'm not saying he can't catch or that he doesn't play a role in that either. If you just are talking about running the football, he's arguably the best running back in the NFL. He's up there with the Jonathan Taylors of the world. And just while you're on that point, I know it's totally irrelevant from that game specifically, but Leonard Fournette is another guy who I just think never really gets his flowers, bro. Like, just pounded the ball down the Cowboys' throat last night. I mean, I know we haven't got to that game, but just wanted to throw that in there with the running backs that don't get the credit where it's due. Obviously,
Sunday Night Lenny
picks up to a further extent, but
yeah, man.
Lenny just never gets the love, man. It's weird.
No. All right, last 1 o'clock game that I want to discuss here for a second. It's more so just a player because he's always going to be ingrained in our minds when we're watching football from an Eagles point of view, and that is the Commanders in our division. Obviously, they come away with a win, but Commander Carson, man, let's talk about it because once again, you're going to have everybody. Someone posted when he threw the second interception, he is who we thought he is. Scotty, he was 27 of 41 for 313, 4 tutties, and a game-winning touchdown drive at the end of the fourth quarter. All right, he threw 2. Yeah, he got his 2 picks in. I get it. Yeah, man. Like, are you like? Why? I just want to know. From an Eagles fan, I should be the one pounding the table for how bad Carson Wentz is and this and that. Why is he viewed this way, man? Like, we know his history in Philly. A great year, 2 good years, a bad year, obviously rookie year excluded. Goes to Indy, doesn't make the playoffs, but his numbers were fine. Comes here week 1, gets a win and puts up great numbers. But yet people are going to tell you he is the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. I don't understand it. I really don't. Like, you might not like the person. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. What kind of a leader he is.
He's never been accused of sexual misconduct.
No, but like people rag on
as a person, even we don't know. Like I don't get it at all, honestly, Dylan. I really don't.
It's very strange to me, man. He seems like a family dude. He's a religious dude.
If Hurts went out and did that yesterday, we would be like painting the
oh my God.
Hurts,
we would be going nuts.
I don't know. Like 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. I get it, 2 picks, but when you're throwing the ball that much, shit's gonna happen. Like
that's my point. I just want to know
like it's not that. It's just
I agree. I just want to know where the perception comes from. Because he threw 2 yesterday. And everyone cracks up about the turnover rate and the interceptions. And, in 2020 in Philly, he turned the ball over at an enormous clip.
Yeah.
Every other year he's been a starting quarterback outside of his rookie year. I don't think he's thrown more than 8 or 9 picks in a season, multiple seasons with only 7. So, and the ratio is always great. The QBR is good. Listen, I'm not trying. He's a division rival now. I know the way he's on his 3rd team in 3 years. The way it ended here was disastrous. I just don't understand the perception of how bad Carson Wentz is as a talent.
He's labeled a bad quarterback.
It's weird. It's weird to me, man.
Weird. It's weird to me.
And by the way, let me start off my storylines here. This is my number 5, and it's semi a joke, but since we're on the Carson Wentz conversation right now, did Indianapolis win yesterday? Who did Indianapolis play? Oh, the worst of the 2 AFC South teams that the Commanders and Indy was playing. You tied the Houston Texans, dude. So again, week 1. It's week 1. Maybe just chalk it up as that. That's what we've been talking about all show long. But maybe, just maybe, my first storyline is Carson Wentz wasn't the whole problem in Indy. And let me ask you this. You said this to me yesterday. Maybe Indy just isn't as good as we think. I had them as a top 10 team heading into the year. They were number 10 on my list. They have Jonathan Taylor. They have a really good offensive line. We think their defense is spectacular.
We think.
But maybe it's not. Maybe they're not as talented of a roster. And who knows? Maybe they come out after this week and they rip off 6 straight wins. I don't know. But tying the Houston Texans in week 1 seems like a red flag to me. If we're talking red flags in football,
it's a red flag in all facets of the game too. Because I'm just looking at how the game played out. Davis Mills, 23 for 37, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns. So he played really good against them. Mm-hmm. But on the other side, it's not that the Colts stars didn't show up. It's not that Jonathan Taylor had a clunker. Like, Jonathan Taylor led the league or second in the league in rushing after the first week. So Jonathan Taylor did his thing yesterday, 160 rushing yards, a touchdown. Michael Pittman did his thing yesterday, 9 catches, 121 yards, a touchdown. So what else are you guys about to do that's going to be different? Obviously,
right? Yeah,
on the defensive end, but what on offense is going to change? Who's wide receiver 2?
Right. It's not like Jonathan Taylor had a down week or Michael Pittman had 2 catches for 15 yards.
Right.
The stars, listen, Michael Pittman had a really good game.
Yeah.
That's around his ceiling, in my opinion. I'm not a Michael Pittman guy.
9 catches, 120 yards, a touch. Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't think you're getting much more out of Michael Pittman Jr. Jonathan Taylor ran the hell out of the ball, ran for over 140, 150, got in the end zone. You're right. You're not going to get much more out of the 2 big names on your team. So what's got to happen? Mo Alley Cox has to have a big game to win. And we're not talking like you played the Ravens or the Steelers or the Bengals. Dude, you played the Houston Texans. Regardless of what I think about Davis Mills as a quarterback, and now Dameon Pierce and Rex Burkhead, and they just lack talent. There has to be a W, and you 8.5-point favorites. You tied in week 1. That was really
you go
sad
out
for the Colts.
you go out and you make that move. You move off Carson Wentz, you bring in Matt Ryan, and then you come out and you do eerily similar to what they did in week 18 last year to lose the playoff berth. So what have the Colts improved at? I mean, we'll see. It's week 1. I get it. Fluky things happen, divisional matchup. We can bring out all the excuses for the Colts, but it kind of feels like we've been doing that the last couple seasons. So we'll see how that plays out. But I guess the last thing I wanted to point out to you, and then we can move, I guess, to the later games because I know we're getting closer to that hour mark. Just the Ravens game, nothing specific, but just Lamar Jackson, kind of the way he played yesterday. Only 6 rushes, 17 rushing yards, won the game with his arm. That's kind of cool to see that happen. It's the Jets. So we'll see how it goes the rest of the season. He's in a contract situation. Maybe he tries to show that he is a better passer this year, and that would be awesome to see from Lamar Jackson.
I was going to say that. Is that a statement?
Right.
Yeah, maybe a little statement, but
we'll see.
No, you're right though, man, because here's the funny thing. So the Carson part, the Colts part, that was my 1 o'clock takeaway. My next 4 of my 5 takeaways come in the 4 o'clock hour and beyond.
Interesting enough.
So let's move on. Obviously, one of the takeaways I don't have, we'll start with this game right here. The Giants beat the Titans. Every NFC East team besides the Cowboys comes away with a win. But very, very odd game to me. The Titans were up 13-0 at halftime. And then all of a sudden momentum starts to shift. I believe there might have been a muffed punt later on in that game. Saquon had a hell of a day. Yeah. Brian Dable showing some energy in the post game and in the locker room. Man, it was a nice comeback win for the Giants. Like the Giants didn't do this against, like the Bears who won the game, but they didn't do it against Seattle or Atlanta or the teams we think are bottom 5 in the league. You did it against a recent playoff team who had Derrick Henry play yesterday. Like, it's not like they're short man. So, props to the G-men for it's a nice start to the season. But let me get to my next takeaway from this week. Well, let me sum these two up together from the 4 o'clock slate. Okay. These are 1 and 2. Mahomes and the Chiefs are A-okay in the post Tyreek Hill era of Kansas City football. Meanwhile, this is all right, Overreaction Monday, right, Phil? Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are in trouble post Davante Adams era. Agree or disagree with me?
I'm with you, man. So you look at Mahomes, look at that Chiefs offense, and that was one of my top 5. That was my number 1 takeaway. That was my number 1 takeaway. I'll be transparent with you.
They made Arizona look Arizona, and by the way, Arizona's in trouble. Arizona looked clueless
they got
yesterday.
No weapons. It's weird. It's weird, but Mahomes 30 for 39 from the field, 360 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, spreading the ball around, doing whatever the hell he wants. Had a borderline perfect game. I mean, for all QB measurements. I mean, didn't miss a beat. Didn't miss a beat without Tyreek Hill. The offense didn't miss a beat. They go out, they drop, 44 points on the Cardinals, who Cardinals don't have the greatest defense, but that's not like a bottom 10, bottom 15 defense. They have a solid defense for the Cardinals. They were a playoff team last year, but the Chiefs just roll right through them. And I think that was more of a statement game than what people are realizing around the NFL media world today.
It was my number 1 takeaway.
They put that on the forefront. They want teams to be on alert. You need to know Patrick Mahomes is not missing anything this year. I know Tyreek Hill, we talked about it. We talked about the question mark of him leaving that offense. Didn't miss a beat, and it was awesome to see. So I'm with you. That was my top takeaway from the week this week.
Arizona might just need more study hours. I don't know, because they looked bad. Like, and here's the thing, man. All season long, we talked about one thing with the AFC West, right? We're not going to listen. Losing Tyreek Hill, we're going to see, but we're not going to doubt Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy and Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
But while all the other defenses got better, the Chiefs probably have the worst overall roster and the worst defense in that division on paper.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. Cardinals are missing D-Hop. Understood. Cardinals still, if there's should have a good offense. And they had 7 points until the fourth quarter against that Chiefs defense. in Arizona, not in Arrowhead, in Arizona. So again,
And
week one, but maybe we underestimated what this Chiefs team is.
And to your point about the Packers, just one of my takeaways was Justin Jefferson. Obviously, your takeaway was, maybe Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are in trouble. I think we can put those things together and make one takeaway here. And I agree with you, because maybe it's not even that the Packers are set to be like this terrible team that we saw in week one, but the Vikings might be really good. And do the Green Bay Packers want to put themselves in a situation where they don't win this division, and now they got to play themselves into a wild card spot with, a bunch of NFC West teams that are trying to get in? So it's an interesting thought in that sense, but also the Green Bay Packers offense looked lost. I mean,
7 points, Scotty. 7.
What are you doing? This is a division rival. Like we saw this last year, and I saw a lot of criticization. Oh my God, that word came out so bad. I saw a lot of criticization on Aaron Rodgers today from national media, and I kind of agree, man. If he wasn't out there working with those young receivers, you saw what Jalen Hurts was doing with these young guys. And I only bring him up. I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Hurts. I only bring that up because we see the behind the scenes with the Eagles. Jalen Hurts was working with his guys all offseason, and it paid off week one. Aaron Rodgers apparently didn't put in that type of work this offseason, didn't go to training camp, didn't get those reps in with these young guys. And now they got to figure it out on the go. If there's anybody that can do it, it's Aaron.
Sure.
But it doesn't look good.
Well, here's the thing.
Vikings look great.
So from a one-on-one perspective, I agree. Like, Aaron Rodgers is the greatest talent at the quarterback position I've ever seen. He's not the greatest of all time, but in terms of talent, he is the best I've seen. And Mahomes is kind of right there. Just is a lot younger than hasn't done it as long. But the thing is, like, and obviously I know Aaron Rodgers has done it before Davante Adams. However, before Davante Adams, Aaron Rodgers always had a young Randall Cobb, Jordy Nelson, Greg Jennings, right? When he was there was always talent around Aaron Rodgers. You have Randall Cobb about 22 years late. You have Sammy Watkins, who maybe shouldn't even be in the league anymore at this point.
I'm not 100% sure about that.
You drafted a couple guys this year instead of going out and getting like a Chris Olave or a George Pickens or someone like that. You waited and kind of took back. And Christian Watson drops a walk-in tutty from a dime from Aaron Rodgers. So my whole point is, we keep saying, well, he can do it without Davante Adams. What has shown us that in recent memory? Go back to the NFC Championship game last year. What was the problem? What did San Fran do? They took away who? Davante Adams. Did a great job of it. How many points did Green Bay score? 10.
Not a lot.
Who don't the Green Bay Packers have anymore? Davante Adams. So what is a sign that that's going to change? I don't know. So I think I really do believe, I think they lack a lot of talent. I get you have Aaron Jones, you have A.J. Dillon, and maybe you need to rely on the run more. But when you have Aaron Rodgers, the ball needs to be in Aaron Rodgers' hands. Yeah. He just can't get it to anyone reliable.
Yeah.
That defense got paid a lot of money. Technically Scotty, they did their job, right? Like Justin Jefferson had 2 big plays. Justin Jefferson had a day. Green Bay only gave up
under 20 points, man. That's not going to happen. You
only held them to 23. Like the defense was fine. They lack talent offensively. You scored 7 points yesterday.
And I think, the scary part about it, Dylan, and I'll go back to this Vikings thing again. If you look at the Packers versus the Vikings right now, what advantage outside of Aaron Rodgers do they have?
None.
The Vikings are a better team. It's kind of crazy. And I think, maybe before the season, I didn't believe it until I saw it yesterday. But the talent, it's not just like, a better coach team or anything like that. The talent is at a higher level in Minnesota than it is in Green Bay outside of the quarterback position. And that's kind of crazy. Because I know we talked about the Packers yesterday, and I told you how I think they can be this team that can run the football, get stops, and then Aaron Rodgers make the key throws.
I just don't think that can be their identity. Like I said, when you have when you have Aaron Rodgers, the ball needs to be in his hands. You're not
Just
going to defer to Aaron Jones in the rushing attack and say, get the job done. A-Rod is going to be the guy that needs to get the job done, and that's TBD at the moment.
It's just like the Eagles last season when they get to the playoffs. We're like, oh, they can run the football, get stops and defense. No, your quarterback has to make throws. You're against good defenses, you're going to have to make plays through the air, and that is now my biggest worry for the Packers because, yeah, they can go if they play the Bears next week, they can beat the Bears like that, right? But you can't beat the Vikings, you can't beat the Rams, you can't beat the Bucks like that. You can't beat any top-tier, top-level team like that, and it's scary to think about because the Packers, okay, let's say you do win the division. First round exit again? Or are you doing that again? Because this team is not even better than last year's. It's not.
I agree, man. So real quick before we wrap up, 2 more games to go over real quick. And this is my third takeaway. Well, technically my fourth since I went over the Indianapolis one. Justin Herbert is in for an MVP type season. So the Chargers beat the Raiders 24-19. It was an exciting game down the stretch. The Raiders scored to make it 24-19 with about 4 or 5 minutes left. They went for 2. They didn't get it. Absolutely crushed my parlay that I had sent you because I had over 19.5. So that sucked. But Justin Herbert was 26 of 34, 279, 3 tutties, no interceptions, a 129.4 rating. I don't know how much of the game you caught, but the accuracy, the arm strength, he's disgusting.
He's got it.
And they to me, they set a tone, right? And it's not just him. So that was my one takeaway. He's got an MVP type season ahead of him at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Carr had 4 turnovers, 2 fumbles and a pick, or two picks and 2 fumbles.
3 picks and 2 fumbles, but none lost.
But so he put the ball on the ground twice and threw 3 interceptions. And many of those came in the second half.
Yeah.
So, right, they add Devontae Adams. We like Max Crosby in that defense. I picked the Chargers to win the division. They made a statement week 1 against one of those division rivals that is going to be competing with them all year long. So I really liked what they did there. And I think it's one of your takeaways as well, or a guy you were looking at performance-wise. Guess who wreaked havoc?
Khalil Mack, man. The Mack attack. And you brought that up over the offseason, just talking about, okay, they got Joey Bosa on one side. And Joey Bosa, maybe he is better. Maybe he is better now, but we don't know that for sure. And Khalil Mack can still wreak havoc from the other side of that defensive line. And those two together are just going to be a problem for any offensive line. The Eagles have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, and I don't want to go up against that defensive line. Those two edge rushers closing in on your quarterback. It just – you look at the numbers, 3 sacks yesterday for Khalil Mack, a sack and a half for Joey Bosa. They had 6 sacks as a total defense yesterday. Maybe next week, Joey Bosa has 3 sacks and Khalil Mack has 2. Like, pick your poison with who you're going to try to stop in this defense, and then you can do the same thing on offense. Key injury to mention, though, Keenan Allen. I know he went down with a little bit of a hamstring injury. Yeah. Hoping that doesn't, keep him out too long. Keenan Allen.
I think he was getting an MRI today, but I agree with you. Final game of the night, final game of the day. And maybe not under. I don't mean this. What I'm about to say next under under what happened late in the game and after the game with Dak Prescott. That sucks. He's got another injury. He's out 6 to 8 weeks. But it brings a smile to my face to say this. All show long, we've said what, Scotty, about all these games and all these teams. It's just week 1, right? Yeah. A win is a win, or it's just week 1, whatever the term may be. I can confidently say this after week 1 in terms of the Dallas Cowboys. Stick a fork in them. Cooked. Good night.
They're done.
Dunzo. First of all, they looked horrible even before the Dak Prescott injury. They scored 3 points last night. They were the only team not to score a touchdown yesterday. I know it's the Bucs. I know they have a good defense. It was in Dallas. Dak looked really bad. They have, dude, listen to me. Michael Gallup's not healthy. We know that. They lost Cedric Wilson. They moved on from Amari Cooper. I really like CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb has something I like to call a hands issue. CeeDee Lamb is a very talented wide receiver who drops a lot of balls, okay? And he's now expected to be your number one. And past CeeDee Lamb on your depth chart at the moment while Michael Gallup's recovering, you have Scotty and I playing for your team at the moment. So they were already in trouble, and now you lose Dak Prescott for 6 to 8 weeks, and guess what they didn't address in the offseason? Backup quarterback.
Yep.
So for the time being, they're rolling with Cooper Rush. Stick a fork in them, man. And especially because their first 6 games, 7 games are brutal.
They're brutal. They're
like
brutal.
The Dallas Cowboys
last year. They're going to get the
Dallas Cowboys will be lucky to be 1-5 through 6 weeks.
An angry Bengals team next week. Good luck.
Good night. Good night.
Bengals, Giants, Commanders, Rams, Eagles.
That they're not winning a game.
All of this game.
The one game I would point to could be the Commanders, and they won yesterday. You got your ass kicked and you lost your starting quarterback. So nothing tells me you're going to win that divisional game with Cooper Rush.
It's over, man. It's over for the Cowboys.
Stick a freaking fork in them. Again, don't love to see it with the Dak injury, but love to see it because it's the Cowboys. And then the icing on the cake. I don't know who let Philly fans in AT&T Stadium throwing drinks at Dak, brawling with each other.
Man, look.
Yo.
It's a bad look.
Yep. I love it. I love it.
Dallas. What would we do without it? It's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be fun watching them flop around the next 6 to 8
watching
weeks.
their demise.
You know how boring that game was last night until
horrible.
Finally scored a touchdown. It was so fucking boring. But one positive, Michael Parsons, that dude is a problem. But
that's great. Congrats.
That's great. That's one bright spot for you, Dallas fans.
Can Michael Parsons score? Maybe here and there, but not enough to win a game.
Grab, bro, in the end zone over Trayvon Diggs. I had to post that on the DSM account. I was trolling, of course. It wasn't that bad of coverage, but Mike Evans is a monster, nonetheless.
Yeah, it's still pretty funny.
It's funny as hell. Also, Dak throwing into triple coverage. Gotta love that as well. The NFL season's back when Dak's throwing those. But no garbage time Dak last night, though, right? No garbage time Dak last night.
Oh, got the last jab in. Got the last.
We gotta send them now, bro. They're in a weak spot. We gotta kick them while they're down.
Gotta love it, man. But all right, that is going to wrap up NFL Turf Talk Monday Night Edition. And listen, guys, this is going to be a new thing. Obviously, we are Sundays 10 a.m. We are Thursdays 7 p.m. But it's looking like now we're going to be 6:30, 7 p.m. here on DSM Media on Monday nights as well to kind of instantly react to, not instant reaction, but as close to instant reaction as we can get post Sunday. I didn't, too much went on yesterday. Too much is going to go on this season. So wait till Thursday. Exactly. So Turf Talk 3 days a week now, which I'm excited for. Eagles pregame show obviously will be this Monday night at 7 p.m. heading into. So we'll have to figure that out for next week since we're going to have pregame. So maybe Turf Talk at 6. Yeah. Pregame at 7:30, whatever we can do there. But we will figure it out for you guys. As always, head on over to @DSM_media on Twitter. Hit that follow button. We greatly appreciate it. But while you're at it, click the link tree in our bio. Head on over to the YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. Like this video. Do whatever you guys got to do. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. Check my man Scotty out on Twitter @ScottyDrown. You can find me on Twitter @DylanJD98. Enjoy the rest of your night. And Broncos country.
Broncos country.
Let's ride.
Bring it on.